Welcome back, Rage Nation. Got myself Pete here.
That's not really exciting.
You got Senior Dixon.
I don't think that's appropriate.
And we got Monsieur Leopard.
Explorers deserved it. No.
Absolutely.
I was disgusted. I cannot believe they've done this.
Bayou's wacky. Bayou's not good. It's just nonsense.
I disagree on that. That's not possible.
We're getting the band back together. We're on a mission. Yeah.
Now we've got a whole new list of things to complain about.
Welcome back, Rage Nation. We are at it again. Got myself Pete here, and we got a full house because we're going to talk about some Bayou bashing today and how they did in the Ashes of Malifaux Book. So we got, of course, with us my good friend Dixon. We brought on a good Texan man with John Motzer. John, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man.
And then for the first time, well overdue, we brought Sam on to help talk us through this Bayou. And Sam, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Pete? And how are you doing, Rage Nation?
We're doing pretty good. Been busy with all this stuff. I am impressed, Sam, how fast the Danger Planet got out all y'all's content. That thing, you guys like machine gun that content out, man.
Well, it was a lot more fun to see it done than to be doing it in the moment, I'll tell you that.
I bet. Yeah, because this is the fourth one we've done, so we got, I think, 2 or 3 more. And it's a lot going through it. I give y'all props because I was like, yep, I am not doing that.
It's kind of fun also to do this like super early because, you can revisit once you have like 2 months, 3 months, 4 months of like play with these guys. You've gotten a chance to build the models. You've gotten a chance to really try them against a variety of different opponents. And now you can see how your opinion's changing. Like there's some models I can definitely see my opinion changing on.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you. So I'm sure there's a couple that you've actually played on Vassal, and you're probably like, okay, this actually either works better or worse than you initially thought.
To be honest, I haven't gotten enough reps in with the new stuff yet. I've got a pretty small kid, and I've got a really demanding job right now. So I want to put in more reps before I change my opinion. So stay tuned for that. The big problem is that the Vassal World Series at the time of recording hasn't made the Ashes models legal yet, so I haven't been able to run them in event play. But I am really looking forward to getting more like official games in with them.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the fun part as we kind of get into the spring and summer cons, right? Is we're going to start seeing a lot of these models just kind of be out there. I know some GTs and some cons allow for proxies, so I think that'll be interesting to see people put this stuff actually on the table. But
the next big con is Adepticon, right? Or is
that's happening right now.
Just done.
That's happening right now. Okay,
just finished.
Got it.
And Sam, do you know if they allowed the?
I don't. Sorry, I don't.
No, that's
think
okay. I'll ask
did,
Landon later and see if he
know.
knows. I'm 1,000% sure that Landon was probably there.
He was. I know he was there. He was playing Yan Lo pretty much the whole time.
There you go. But before we get into the Bayou content, make sure that you guys are checking us out. You can do that by popping on our Discord. Always got people talking there from all different times of the world. I know I'll wake up at like 6, 7 o'clock and be like, oh, look, the New Zealand people were like chatting each other up, and the UK people woke up, and now my phone's got all these messages. So that's always fun. You can check out our YouTube channel. The podcast actually gets uploaded directly to there, so you can either listen to that on YouTube if you want. We also have videos that get put up. And then finally, if you want to support us directly, you can do that at patreon.com/RageQuitWire, where you can support us and you get the content a little bit early. We also get patrons that will pop in the chat. Don't have any of them yet. Hopefully we have some pop in here and there as people get off work or get ready for sleep. And sometimes you get cool swag. I got stickers going out to patrons here soon in the U.S. I told the international patrons, I'm like, you guys got to wait for my war chest to fill back up. A lot of that got spent out, but as soon as that gets back up, I'll definitely offer stickers to the international group. And finally, if you're going to do the cool Easter sale stuff, you can use our affiliation link. You can do that by going to give us your money, please, thank you, weird.com/RageQuitWire. And very little of that goes back to the podcast, but it helps Pete not take a second mortgage on his house, which is always nice. So getting into it, Bayou. So you guys, I think, have more of an ear with the Bayou community. I go on there sometimes and I'm kind of like, okay, I haven't been playing Bayou stuff for a while, so I know kind of like pre-Ashes Bayou kind of meta type stuff. But how do you guys feel like the Bayou currently feels about some of these models that they just got?
So I think people are really excited about Jebediah and Haberdashers. I think that there's a subset of people who are really excited about the jockeys. So the current Malifaux World Series event is a Iron Scorpius event, so you have to declare a different leader in each round. And Nathan Linder of Ohio is also running Bayou for this round, and him and I promised each other that if we ever get paired into each other, we're both declaring Bo Peep. We're going to do the full jockey mirror. Although I don't think they're allowing Ashes stuff in this event, so we might have to get special dispensation for that. So yeah, there's some excitement out there, certainly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I haven't really talked with a lot of people about the Bayou stuff specifically, but I know that there's a lot of new models that people are really excited about. I think Bashy is probably one of the ones that people are like excited about because it's going to be a cool model. But
I will tell you, playing a crap
yeah.
ton of December lately, I am digging that model. Bash is super good in December.
Value, I assume it's going to be great in Swamp Fiend, but like I couldn't fit him in any other list. I think I'm with John on this. It's like, why?
Well, if it was a Swamp Fiend, I'd agree with you. But
yeah, the lack of keyword synergy is really.
He still hits like
there.
a Mack truck, though.
100%.
Yeah, but that's actually something Bayou has a lot of options for. Like Bayou has a lot of 10-stone hires that hit like a truck.
I think the mandatory question that everybody wants me to ask you guys is, how do you feel about a good Gremlin model with Ezekiel that is not Bayou,
Those mother
but
truckers.
it's in Rezzers?
Those mother truckers.
That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Look, I'm happy.
I'm not. Screw those guys.
Yeah.
What would Bayou do with
Rezzers
zombies? What would Bayou even do with them?
I'm thinking this, right? Like I'm playing the long game. All these players are going to play with Ezekiel, and they're going to see how much fun he is, and they're going to be like, maybe other Gremlins are as fun, and then they're going to come over to Brown, and then the Rezzer models are going to go on the shelf.
Look at this guy.
So you're playing the long game
he's
there
like,
for sure.
Ezekiel is
You're going to win the war.
That's what he is. He's just like, Ezekiel's crack, and we have to throw him in the streets. So
yeah, I mean, it's super. I guess it helps that Ezekiel is like insanely strong.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I know Brian has talked at length about how much he likes Ezekiel.
I was very surprised because so I was playing. What was I playing? I think I was playing Rasputina. And I was like, cool, I'm just going to, I think I sent Bash specifically to eat the gremlin. I was like, I'm just going to send Bash and eat Ezekiel. But the problem is there's undead stuff everywhere. So it's just like, cool, now you're attacking a zombie. Cool, now you're attacking, X undead model. And it actually was way more difficult to kill him than I thought it was going to be.
There's a couple of models here that we're going to talk about. Like, Enforcers, how I view them, is that they should be better than models of the same cost because they are special, unique models that are not henchmen, so they don't have soulstone use and all that stuff, right? And Ezekiel fits that category in Rezzers. And thankfully, there's a couple here, but I think it was Sam that mentioned that the rich get richer because most of those enforcers, or that enforcer in question, is in a couple of keywords that are already like very well represented.
Yeah, it's very strong keywords. I mean, I don't want to make this the green episode, but one of the things I like about Ezekiel, and I think this is a theme we can talk about a lot of the Ashes models, is that kind of the price is right for them. Like, these are models that don't cost very much, and that really matters because it's not just that, like, oh, good, I have an extra soulstone in my list. It's that there are effects that, if they're priced at 6 or 7 stones, you can actually, like, reasonably consider them in your list in a way that they just wouldn't be remotely in consideration at 8 or 9. So it, like, opens up options that
I feel
exist.
like a lot of times in different lists that 5, 6, 7 soulstone model is often, that's like a flex model. So it's not like a lot of crews that have like 9 or 10 soulstone models, those are usually like key pieces of the crew, whereas a lot of times those lower costs are kind of like, oh, they're healers or they're flex or they're schemers. So I think they can flex in and out a lot easier.
I agree with that take a lot, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're trying to fit a 9-stone model in your crew, you are like removing something that it like fundamentally was in your crew for a reason. Whereas if you're trying to fit like a 6-stone model in your crew, you're basically just like swapping out something that I think you already were considering swapping out.
So, talking about expensive models, I'm going to talk about Bash
Get
first
out of the way.
because that's 10 soul stones, and I'm kind of curious where y'all think that's going to fit in. I mean, Bash is just a huge gator. There's a lot of buzz around him. So, I'm kind of curious what you guys think Bayou could possibly do with this big boy.
I mean, I know that you guys mentioned it before, but like he is a big beater, yes, and Bayou has a lot of big beaters, but he is also resilient, in my opinion. He has a lot of healing. He has the largest health pool of any model, really. No,
Non-master?
He ties with the titanium model that has 14 health.
I think Ulix 2 has 14 as
And
well.
Ironsides, there's
yeah.
a few with 14.
Yeah.
There's a few with 14, but 14 is usually just reserved for masters.
Yeah.
Like that's a master number, and
So I was going to say the one area, so because I know I like this in December, which is something I'm playing around with right now, but I was actually talking with a Bayou player about Bash, and we were actually talking about him in Ulix possibly, because all of those hurt him abilities do include beasts, which does include Bash.
So the problem with that is that Herdum is a suit requirement, and if you're not targeting a pig, the suit's not built in, and
Yeah,
nobody who
so
has
you
it
need
can
the
stone
mask.
for it. So you've got Hog Whisperers can
can
you
still do
know
it.
what's it, get a stick, they can
Tools for the
do
job,
what they
yeah.
can get a tools for the job.
Yep.
And they can get it built in that way, but you're not going to, like, in practice, you're going to get a few Herdums, but you're not going to get, like, a ton. And
Yeah, it's not like
also-
you're getting 10 attacks off this thing a turn.
don't discount the hog oil salesman, dude.
I
Yeah,
discounted the
that
hell out of
model's
that model.
garbage.
I don't think it's good.
Wow.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah, with Bashy, I think the big thing with Bashy, and like, I know it's it's kind of an uncool thing to say, but like I just feel like that there's so many good 10 stone beater options in Bayou that do other things besides just that. Like you got Mancha Roja does more damage than Bashy, and he removes markers. You've got Auntie Mel who does probably about the same or maybe slightly less, but she does it from 10 inches away, which is and she's a henchman, which is a huge buff to survivability. You've got the Emissary, which doesn't do as much damage, but it also moves 12 inches for 1 AP. Like, there's all these options if you want to hire a 10 stone beater that.
So
do things
where
that-
the value has come for me with Bash is if you are a crew that can move stuff out of activation, I think Bash is very powerful. Plus he does remove markers. But I like Rasputina has a crap ton of pushes that she can do. The new, Silent Snow can move models when it's in the Cedra form. So that's why I'm saying like in Ulix where you can hurt him to get him into certain positions. That's where I'm kind of like, I think I like it in Ulix. I'd have to play it out. But then you might have to take something out like an Old Major or, the Big Pigs or whatever else you like to bring there, which then cuts your synergy, right?
Right. I will say taking out Old Major for anything in pigs is a very, very.
Some people
don't-
don't
I
like
don't
bringing
bring
Old
them.
Major, John, believe it or not.
I've been thinking about it a lot. But it's just really hard to tell myself that positive flips to
Yeah.
damage and
Yeah,
randoms is.
I mean,
just-
with Old Major, the big thing is like if you're playing pigs, right? You're playing a crew that has a lot of very obvious weaknesses. Like your defensive stats are very bad. You don't have a lot of armor or hard to wound outside of your master. You don't have card draw, and you have a ton of TNs. So why are you playing pig? You're playing pig because you have access to one of the most cracked offensive buffs in the entire game of Malifaux. Just like permanent positive flips to damage for everything, forever. World without end. Amen. And saying no to that, either because you're dropping him or even just because you're taking a beater that's not a pig and doesn't benefit from the aura.
Yeah,
hard
I
sell.
can get like whatchamacallit, girly on a hog. Happened multiple times. Yeah, both P. Whenever I was playing with P, like we had that joke happening because every now and then he would be like, "Dixon, she's not a pig." Like literally, would just ruin my day because I had a plan all related that she was a pig.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can go back to some of those videos where Dixon was playing Ulix. We put those bat reps on there and stuff, and Dixon would get so mad. He'd be like, "And I'm gonna do whatever onto Bo Peep. I'm gonna catch you on fire and stuff." I'm just like,
Yeah.
Dixon, she's not a pig.
Not a pig.
She's not a pig. That doesn't
Oh
work.
my god!
You know what is something about Bashy that like does kind of give me pause, and this is honestly to me a bigger issue than the like Def 4 thing, is he has 2 AP he can make attacks with, and that's it. He doesn't have Flurry, he doesn't have Trail of Gore, he doesn't have like
He does have
onslaught, but
it's
it's not built in, and
consistent.
he's not a henchman, so he can't stone for
That's
it.
why he's better in Arcanist.
Yeah. I think when this guy is wearing a Soulstone Cache, he's great.
Yeah.
And then that also kind of segues into, I think, one of the other big things with him is he's ruthless, which is a really, really strong rule. And a lot of factions, including until recently Arcanists, don't really have access to big ruthless beaters. Bayou has ruthless on a 2-stone upgrade that does other good things.
Yep.
So if you're playing, if you're playing into like Dreamer, you can be like, oh, I'm just gonna hire the beater I want to hire, and I'm gonna give them inferiority complex, which kind of gives them a third
that was
AP.
one of the very few matchups where like I thought Bash was better than the Emissary, because I agree with you with the whole Emissary thing. He's a big beater, blah blah blah. They were very similar, but I think Bash has play into anti-armor and into like things that eat more scheme markers at a very surgical way.
Yeah, and I could see maybe like an argument for like, oh, I'm playing something like Angler with Clampets 2, for example. They're going to pack anti-armor because of Hermits, because of Cervantes, and because of the potential of the Clampets being heavily armored. So like, but even then, like, it's still like it's 10 stones, and like if you in Clampet specifically, if we're talking about, okay, are we replacing Uncle Bog?
No,
with,
you
with
drop
Bash?
Cervantes.
No, you drop Cervantes, and like maybe I could see it, but also I don't know. It's like Bash is good, but I do think the December synergy is really what it is. And again, like, because of Bayou, I think Bayou specifically has a lot of very important keyword synergies like mixed into their keywords that make it hard. Like, some of their lists can be very, very like tight, even if they can be versatile. Like, like Mataka can be like played a few different ways, but like the way you play her is still relatively tight. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think Bash has a hard time fitting into that bill because of that. Although if you really wanted to, you could slap like 12 cups of coffee on this thing and just use everything you have to like put it in the middle of the board. And if you can dump healing into it, maybe like if you can keep it up there, that sphere of influence is pretty big.
I'm also curious if you guys, for a Bayou player, put any value onto having a terrifying model that some people might not be expecting in Bayou.
I mean, it depends on what else your crew is doing, right? Like, terrifying is fundamentally a hand tax, but if you're not hand taxing your opponent with the rest of the stuff in your crew, it's like the first couple terrifying flips are free, because he's terrifying 12, so that means they're passing it on a 6 or a 7 most of the time. So you have these 6s and 7s in your hand, which are not normally doing a lot for you, because it's not like you can really cheat them offensively or defensively. So the first couple terrifying cheats are free. It's only when you have a ton of terrifying that like your opponent is now really being like, oh crap, I really have to figure out which of these terrifying flips I'm going to pass, because I can't.
I mean, it's an additional tax. We've always seen that. That's the reason why attacking the hand is actually very good with these multiple hand taxes, right? But there's a couple of in faction buffs for Bash as a pick. Like, for example, I don't know why Big Hat would want him, but Big Hat has that distraction aura. I don't know why would Angler want him, but Angler, being able to basically put him wherever he wants to be, that's another one. Like, just, I don't know. There's gotta be...
I'll tell you, Angler is the keyword that if I did play him, I would play him in. And the reason I'd play him in Angler is you can drop a bunch of tide markers so he can get up the board really easily, because you're just basically dropping breadcrumbs for him to use his bonus on. And then you can also, because you have the kidnap with, I'm honestly, they both do it, the boat, but also whirlpool on the fisherfolk. You can basically kidnap people and then feed them to Bash. Because when you kidnap someone, you still need to kill him.
Literally, you can probably put this model for funsies anywhere and he'll do work, because he's actually good. He's just solid. Everything in his card is actually solid. It's just the only thing that we
I think it does better on
the only thing that we've talked about here about Bash is that the negative is he doesn't really have heavy keyword synergies, and that's it.
Well, no, the other negative is that he has Def 4 and he doesn't have Hard to Wound, so if your opponent is able to put a volume of attacks into him, they will kill him.
Anybody with like Ruthless Min 3 is like, that's what it's going to come down to. Like, so the Riders, for example.
Yeah, this guy hates Riders. He also really hates being stunned. and he's definitely willpower 5, so he's going to get
focus
stunned.
attacks the most because he doesn't have hard to wound.
Yeah, that's also true. Like it's so like if they can get through, like again, the terrifying thing is also really good into certain crews better than others. Like, you know, Maxine doesn't care about ruthless or terrifying as much because it's like, oh well, I can either have cards where I need them or I can cheat off the top, like whatever I need to do, you know, or off your discard. But like some keywords, like Hoffman does not like terrifying as much because he can't replenish his hand, and when he needs to make that flip, it might not come out. Although.
Yes.
Is Joss
Joss
ruthless?
is
I don't
ruthless,
remember.
but Joss is also a min too.
True.
Yeah.
And the irreducible is
remember,
not as
focus attacks
impactful here.
are the thing that this beast is fearing because he doesn't have hard to wound.
So,
But even then, like Joss would need to pump out 2 severes and a mod to kill Bash in one round.
Well, two
And,
double
like-
crit strike severes if he's stoning for it. That's a tough
That
sell.
is a tough sell. That's actually one of the I was going to say. Yeah.
That's what the Peacekeeper's for, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's the reason why I
What do you
said that
guys think of,
he's just weak. He's just weak to severes, but he's not
yeah,
a bad
he's
model.
fine. The last thing I'm going to say about Bash that I just want y'all's quick opinion on is I have seen people talking about, you know, a Gator list led by like Uncle Bog. And I don't know if, I think it's fun and it'd be a fun game to look at, but you know, it's kind of like one of those mid-table things where it's just like, yeah, I'm just throwing this down. Let's just, you know, Gator you to death.
I think if you're going to go a Gator list, you run Zoraida 1 and you take Uncle Bog out of keyword. I think is what you would consider doing there, because then like you have like this huge like realm of influence with like, oh, these Gators are all stealth and they can
There you go,
move
Dixon. Run a
relatively quickly up
Bash
the board.
Zoraida laser list.
And you can obey. Bash is a great target for obey man. Like,
And they're all
spam.
swamp fiends. Gators are swamp fiends, so you can get that
Oh, yeah.
that
Yeah,
hard node.
that's the reason why I was like, I was thinking, I was like, maybe if I need a third beater, then I'll add in Badge.
Yeah, maybe. And Sam, I don't know. Do you know why this albino alligator is in December by any chance?
Yeah, he apparently has like a fragment of December's essence like trapped in his body, which is why he's hungry all the time.
Oh,
There's not really an explanation of how it got there. It's just cool.
that's really cool.
Because I almost feel like it should be like December / Swamp Fiend. Seems like it would have done better.
The river he lives in is basically runoff from the 10 Peaks, which is where December's cult is and where December's like essence is stored. So
Just got some like toxic
yeah, he basically
December
drank like
runoff in his veins.
yeah.
The
he drank like Tyrant
That
runoff.
is hilarious. That's very Malifaux. I love it.
Oh man.
I mean, that's not explicit, but I
No,
choose to
dude,
believe
that
that's
is
how it happened.
that is. Yeah, that
think
is
so,
actually
yeah.
like
That sounds
better. If it's not written down, you just explained a better version of it.
All right. Well, I think that's kind of a good analysis of Bash. He's fun. I think people will have a fine time with him. I think the power is probably more in the December realm, but you know, not everybody can be a dirty Arcanist. So let's go. I want to start strong here, and this is probably the best model out of the book for Bayou with Jebediah and the Haberdashers. So I am appreciative that this was not available at Captain Con, because I think if Jebediah was at Captain Con, I think Sam would have definitely killed Molly, and he probably would have won the game.
I thought we were gonna
Maybe.
save the best for last. We just throwing him out there now.
Nope. I
I would have hired him
into
for
it.
sure. I'll tell you that. Jeb is nuts.
Oh,
And he was the first Bayou model announced, right? That Weird
Yeah.
showed off, I think.
They
So-
showed off. I think they showed off the swashbucklers beforehand because they were at Nova.
gotcha.
Oh, I guess I meant. Sorry, I meant in Weird News.
Yeah.
I think they were like check out these for our new book, Ashes of Malifaux. I think it was was it around the same time as the Big Hat rework, or was it before?
I think it was before because that was
Yeah, I think it was a little
they
before.
saw cannon fodder. It was like I think previewed there a little bit.
That's right. Demise Cannon Fodder was previewed, and they were like, "Oh, what does this mean? Is Big Hat getting changed?" And then Big Hat got changed. But yeah, Jebediah looks really good. I think Sam probably would have a bit more know-how on it because Ma isn't one of my I haven't played that much Ma Tucket specifically, but I can definitely see.
I
you hate
played
having
I
fun,
played
is
with
that
him
why?
and against him already multiple times. This thing is insane. He's not busted, but he is exactly what I was talking about earlier. He's an enforcer that is a cut above the rest in the same point cost, but he's not broken.
Yeah, so what he is to me is he's basically just like a super upgun bushwhacker. Like he's a long range gun that's pretty dangerous to get hit with, and he makes pit traps. That ability to make pit traps at the start of the game is like really important for the list because you want a few pit traps up the field so that you can do the old Soulstone Miner unbury trick, basically toss someone to a pit trap and kill him on turn one. But the big thing he does, in addition to summoning, is he kicks a pit trap into your face, which gets started on the injured chain. Because the hardest injured, I always say this, the hardest injured to put out is the first. Because you need to hit with an attack that like knocks somebody into injured or inflicts the condition. But once the first one's on, all your attacks are a +1 stat, which means it's a lot easier to get the second one on. And once there's two on, I mean, forget about it, right? You're dead. So the fact that he can push a pit trap marker into your opponent's face, and he can do it while also giving himself a fairly significant, forward push, means he starts the chain.
And moving one of your important pieces as well. Like, yeah, he can't do Mawtucket unless you put Ghillie Suit on him, but Big Brain Bryn, great target for Ride With Me. Sparks, probably a really good target for Ride With Me. Even if you take Trixie Belle,
she's good in this GG.
Yeah, but significantly better in GG4 than GG10, for sure.
But, I mean, also the Haberdashers, I just want to briefly, I want to briefly talk about those, because they're not just, like, a token thing that's like, oh, that's cute. Like, they're actually good. Like, they're a significant model with 3 AP. They're a significant model with 3 AP that you can summon with a henchman, or with an enforcer. And the requirement to summon them is not even particularly onerous. It's like a 6 or 7 of rams.
It's
6 ram. That is barely a card.
Good.
Dude, summoning these with Somer is gonna
I
be
already
insane.
have.
Yeah, the fact that Summer can summon
They are incredible when you pair them with the stupid whatchamacallit, the guy 7-point model diversion aura. I literally talked about him earlier. The distraction aura makes it so that their melee attack actually is like super accurate.
Oh, the
with the crier. And like it's super dumb because like
Gremlin
you
criers.
summon 1 or 2, and if there's a crier, or you summon a crier in one of them, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, ping, take damage, ping, take damage. It's not high damage, but it's so accurate.
And the thing with these guys as summons is normally you have a summon and it either fights or it like needs to live for a turn so it can start scheming. These guys, you summon them and they immediately go bonus action, eat a scheme marker, push myself into an annoying location that's hard for you to get me at, and now you have to deal with me. And I'm disguised, so it's not like it's really that easy to kill me. And I'm also got 3 health, so min 2 guns don't just kill me either. And if you don't, next turn I can walk, interact, or I can push myself, I guess, with Scuttle, interact, turn into a scheme marker, and like score ensnare, or score like information overload. Like these things are not something you want to leave alive, but they also take resources to kill, and they're so easy to make.
Oh yeah, it's gotta be funny to see if Summer ever becomes a problem, and it's because of these guys. I would just put the insignificant tab on them, and that's it. But honestly, as it is right now, I think they're perfect.
I will say, I think Jebediah also does add a bit more to Somer's, like, Somer 1's gun line.
Yeah, man, he's what Georgie and Olaf.
Who's Georgie and Olaf?
Yeah, Georgie.
I mean, Georgie and Olaf are still
who's
good,
that?
but
I don't agree with that.
I don't.
I do not.
That's
I do not
old
think
news.
Georgie and Olaf
Yeah,
are in a
they're
good
really
place
bad.
right now, but this guy's just
No, man.
way bad. I don't know about
okay,
really bad.
you
but
are
they're not
absolutely correct. They're not really bad. They're fine, but I'm still stung by the fact that they got nerfed so hard.
They did really
They
take
did
it
get
in the
nerfed
shorts.
really hard. Yeah, that's true. That is
And
true.
Big Hat has good options now, so you don't need to take them.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was kind of one of my problems with Big Hat is you really had to kind of stick in this tight bubble. But with the rework and now with like Jebediah, the Haberdashers, and just some of the other options you have now with a keyword, it really has become a more flexible keyword. I know it's not the pain bubble that people used to love, but it's definitely, I think it's cooler to play.
I mean, with Old Cranky, it's definitely a pain prevention bubble.
I love Old
That
Cranky,
model
man.
is so stupid right now.
And he's a perfect model to ride with me with
There you
with
Yeah.
Jeb. So,
So,
I think Jebediah definitely is the best. Big
I think
Hat
you play
model.
him
Well,
in
Jeb-
every
Jeb-
single list in either of his keywords forever until he gets nerfed. Like I can't see like a functional list in either of those keywords that doesn't have him these days.
Well, plus he's a construct, so that unlocks a bunch of other nonsense
Actually,
that you have with like.
You know what? The one thing is he is vulnerable to getting shot to death by armor ignoring shooting. So like Angel Eyes and stuff.
Angel Eyes will do
Angel
her
Eyes
damnedest to
Hexbows
remove
with
him from
Expert
the board.
Marksman.
How did I miss Jebediah being armor 2?
Yeah, that's
Who
so
thought that was a
he
good
is
idea?
Amazing. Honestly, in none of the games that I played against him or with him, he didn't feel OP. He just felt like super strong, like good, like solid. Yeah, he's like a solid.
He does a lot.
A throwing almost S.
The thing with armor plus 2 is it's the kind. There's so much armor ignoring in the game right now that I don't really think it think of it as like reliable defensive
But do
tech.
you bring it against?
But if your opponent is in one of the keywords that doesn't have access to it, holy crap, it feels so
yeah,
bad
but do
to
you
play
bring it
into.
against these keywords?
You bring it into
think
Ma,
so?
I think. Because I mean, no. Like, what am I talking about? You bring it into these keywords because he's going to be played.
True, but yes, even before he existed, you would consider bringing armor piercing it. Or
I do
something
think
along
armor
those
piercing
lines to
shooting is not
Mawtucket.
normally good into Mawtucket 1 because she tends to take bushwhackers, and bushwhackers are stealth. They're stealth snipers that are really good at counter sniping.
And that's the flex that Ma has, is that like, oh, you're playing somebody who, like, you're playing Guild, you have access to Expert Marksman, you're playing Neverborn, you have access to Angel Eyes. I'm just gonna spam
God,
bushwhackers, and
that is
you
so
know,
frustrating
deal
to
with
play
it.
against. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, that is the problem when you play against Maw. You have to kind of do the Princess Bride scene where you're like, well, are you the kind of man that thinks that I think that you're going to include armor, or are you not going to include armor because you think that I know that you have armor?
Pete.
Yeah, I think my the way my sort of heuristic for this is if I'm running Ma into specifically Cavalier or Witch Hunter, I don't take him. If other guild keywords want to like pay the out of keyword tax to hire an Expert Marksman Hexbow, I'm like, okay, you're taxing yourself to take a pretty bad model in most matchups, and I'll just either hide Jeb or just like put him on the way opposite side of the board.
Yeah. Okay. Well, who do you think likes Jebediah and the Haberdashers better? I actually think it's probably split pretty well between the two keywords, but I think Maw can abuse the Jebediah model more.
He's
just because of all the focus and movement, and
he's better
nonsense
in
that
Ma
brings.
because Ma is better.
Yeah.
I think that however, if in terms of like which one of them needs him more, I think Summer needs him more because I don't think Ma needs anything. I think there's no mandatory hires in her entire keyword.
Do you guys like Haberdashers in Maw? I really like them in Big Hat.
There's
I don't
some.
know if you guys like them in.
I would never hire one in Ma.
Okay, so you just take them because Jebediah just.
Is there?
creates one.
Yeah. Is there a whatchamacallit? Is there a world where you can give this guy 2 focus in Bayou before he activates?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
easy,
Yeah.
real
Okay.
easy.
I
mean, you can do Big Brain Bryn can do it in a few different ways. He can sober up. He can. I think it's just the
Ma
one
just
actually. He
gives
sobers
one.
up. Sparks has Galvanize. Ma has her Pulse Focus.
Okay, the reason why,
Yeah.
the reason why I asked is very easy. This thing can still be moved around with the hats. You can still do the Lenny slide, but instead of the Lenny slide, you can do the Jeb slide. And Jebediah as a gun platform, being moved around before he activates, taking 2 focus, Gatling gun shots is kind of scary in my mind. I just want to, try it out one of these days.
Yeah, you have focus hitting that
It is.
6 is
It is.
brutal.
With Ricochet.
I mean, the Ricochet is like a cherry on top. Like, it's the 6 that I'm just looking at and going, ugh.
Every so often you are gonna take a focus shot, and then you're gonna flip 2 bad cards, and then you're gonna buy you 2 card and flip like a natural 13, and then because you buy you 2 card, it's gonna have you a mask too, and you're just gonna
In
demolish
the
somebody.
arms of an angel.
And the guy next to him. But yeah, Jebediah is good. He's good for a ton of reasons. Like Somer one, like I mentioned the gun line, the foul mouth motivation. He's a really good target.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about his melee attack that just naturally inflicts injured.
Also that, yeah, exactly. Like it's one of like you look at it and it's like the third best thing on his card. Probably.
Not even.
Not well in terms of the back of his card. It's like you could
It's
see
the
Literally
third
the
best
worst
thing on
thing
one
about
of the
this
sides
card,
of
and
his
it's
card,
still
yeah.
really good.
yeah, because his front of card is
the
insane.
thing people
but
don't-
like
Sorry, John. I was just going to say the thing people don't talk about with Somer 1 is Somer 1 has just a push that happens on his hard whooping attack. So now you have a model in his keyword that makes a pit trap. So not only can you move it move a model with Clever Ruse or into the pit trap, but then also now Somer is just like shaking a model around in it. So I think pinging damage with the hard weapon is also something you can do with Somer if you want to have fun.
Yeah, that's definitely kind of an oh shit button, I think. Like, I really don't want to be doing that, but like, I really am glad to be able to when
in a pinch. Yeah, you charge, hit him with the hard weapon, push him into a pit trap, and then blast off.
Or if
I
somebody
think
charged me, I have Jeb come over, put down the pit trap, and then Summer's like, call an ambulance, but not for me.
Yeah, right.
Oh man, so
Jeb's good.
Yeah, definitely good for Big Hat and superb for Maw. Once again, Maw is getting richer and richer.
I'm telling you, man,
we all
that
love to see it.
Jebediah slide, just I would not dismiss it as the thing that actually puts him higher than Maw.
Listen, anything that can toss models, Dixon is a fan of.
Yeah. Well, toss alone is not the thing.
Toss
Anything that displaces a model more than 10 inches is amazing. And the Lightning Slide does that, so I'm just saying.
Hey, you don't got to tell me. I was playing against Beard on that game on Friday. And, I mean, I brought a Mole Man, and Marcus moving like 9 inches up the board through a mole hole. Felt pretty good.
You got to pay the troll toll to get into this mole's hole.
You do. All right, well, let's go ahead, and I think the next natural thing is to go to Angler and Infamous.
To all the listeners, it all goes down here from Jeb. Just everything is...
I think there's some fine stuff.
Fine is not like...
It's really good, the stuff that we covered.
Yeah,
but
it's okay. It's all right.
Dixon, you're playing Infamous now.
I am excited about the turtle specifically, and the swashbucklers are fine, but... nothing that we're going to talk about is as good as Jebediah. I'm just ripping that Band-Aid off right now.
So we were kind of like talking about Mossbeard and what are the minions that came with Mossbeard?
Swashbucklers.
The Swashbucklers. It seems like they wanted to design models that work with Zip 2's kind of distracted sub-theme. I mean, is that the vibe you all are getting? Because that's kind of what I got from it.
I mean, maybe. It's weird. It's weird because the Swashbucklers kind of do their own little self-contained distracted synergy. Like they only need one distract on the enemy to get their synergy, and they can apply it themselves in a variety of different ways. So you kind of it's like you can synergize, but it's also just sort of its own little model that does that.
Yeah.
Right. And distracted is like a fine condition as well if you can spam it out anyway. So like even is it Zip 1 on his piano action he can pulse distracted as well.
And damage too. Don't forget the damage.
And damage. Yeah. So like even if he's dropping pianos, like they kind of help that game plan a little bit with like the tome trigger on their biting insult, but really like just combat finesse, distracted, and the sputtering exhaust like effects kind of like mixed together to make these guys a bit more resilient than they might initially look. I mean, yes, they can be killed. They're still 6-stone minions, but like that combination of things like actually makes them sort of more interesting.
So,
but like
defensively, the big thing is they really hate being shot. If your opponent can shoot them with any kind of reliability, they will just die. Melee is pretty chancy, though, because they have a really crippling defensive trigger, and you can't cheat melee attacks against them. So you're at the mercy of the top of your deck, and you flip
I
you
do
flip poorly.
think, though, that... because you got to keep in mind, you're playing in Zip, so you have access to sputtering exhaust, so that helps a little bit about, with the gun issue, so you just have to be more cautious with it, I think.
Yeah, I think they're an interesting tag team potentially for like an Iron Skeeter. Like you could do like a Skeeter and a Swashbuckler. The Skeeter doesn't have to take a ghillie suit like they would trying to cart around like Mancha Roja, for example. And yeah, like
it's a really good melee.
The Swashbuckler spike pretty decent. Like hitting that mod 4 feels pretty good.
The attack
with this model.
itself, even though it's stat 5, so like you're not gonna be consistently hitting everything, but it is such an incredibly good attack. So that alone makes them worth
I mean, if your opponent's at negs to resist.
Yeah, if your opponent's at negs to resist, you can like the Bewilder trigger is actually pretty good for replenishing your hand potentially in a pinch, right?
I think mostly you're just going to be delaying someone because if they're at a neg to resist, they're already distracted, and then you delay them and then they're slow. What does their next activation look like?
But like the.
I'm going to sit here and look at you.
Yeah. Am I going to swing at the Swashbuckler? I can't cheat it. I'm on negs. Like, what's the point? Oh, and he gave me more distraction.
So the late trigger is actually the thing that I see whenever, at least when I played it, I played against it. The delay trigger is actually the scary thing, and the attack hitting mod 4 is like pretty horrifying. But I did not see many ways to actually get distracted on me. Like, I'm talking about, like, as an opponent, I was, like, not worried about Bewilder at all. Even though that there's a couple of things that give out distracted, it wasn't that much of an issue. But delay was rough.
I will tell you, playing Rasputina, like this last, like, 4 or 5 games, slow is such a good condition in this GG. My goodness. When you can hit the AP efficiency of your opponent's crew, it really sucks for them. Great for you.
Especially with something like Cloak and Dagger,
yeah,
where it's like you have to take a lot of AP, like especially in the later turns to get as close to max VP as you can.
It's not having a third AP all the time is something that like does make me side-eye them a little bit. Like, free loot is good when it happens, but your opponent controls when it happens.
What's up, boss? And what's up, Beard? Because he doesn't exist to me. Mellow's garbage. We talked about it in the Outcast. By God, there's no way that you guys are going to convince me otherwise. This guy is a waste of plastic.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. I do think his card, when I look at it initially, I'm trying to figure out exactly what he does. And then listening to Sam talk about it in his video about kind of he does all of these little things that are like really like just handy to have on the table. And for 7 stones, he's not breaking the bank. You just kind of flex him in. I'm not sure when you would flex him in his keywords necessarily. But what I will say is that, like, you know, like a range 8 stat 5 willpower attack to give somebody distracted and potentially give a heal out, you know, that ignores concealment because he just does that baseline, you know, and it's just a bonus action. Like, it could work. I don't know what you're supposed to do with like haphazard topography, for example, but like
that one I don't think I don't really think about haphazard topography very often, but everything else in this guy's card I like. I mean, like, listen, I know he doesn't do a lot of killing, but zip lists are really easy to like flex around. Like, I don't think there's any mandatory.
You said that as if like, oh, I only care about the killing part. It's like, no. This guy doesn't do anything worthwhile, and that's my issue.
Well, okay, he's very different in his keywords.
We were just talking about
He's
slow.
very different in his keywords. I think that, first of all, Sharp Wit is a good action. Like, there's a lot of Bayou models with Sharp Wit, and I know that, like, this is, not everyone loves that action, but, like, I take Sharp Wit attacks all the time. I think it is a good action. And
I don't love the triggers on it, though.
it's, you know, they're okay. But the big thing that this guy does, I think, is he just, like, is this very kind of self-contained model that is capable of doing things without you having to invest a lot in him. I think he's much better in Angler. I'll say that. And
yeah, because Chum the Waters, he doesn't really make value.
Yeah,
for
he doesn't
himself.
he doesn't really create those things himself. So he benefits from Chum the Waters, which is good. They need the card velocity a lot more because they don't have showboating naturally. So the fact that he cycles a card is better in there. A Cussin and a Fussin is great because you can target Cervantes, who can't gain distracted, and there's no TN on it. So if you have a crappy ram in your hand, you like cheat the 1 rams, draw a card at the end of your activation, and heal one of your models for a bonus action.
I mean, yeah, I guess as a healer, if Cervantes needs an extra healer for 7 points that does nothing else, yeah, sure.
No, he heals.
But,
it's not that he heals Vantes. He heals anyone within 3 of himself.
Yeah. So he can pulse kind of healing out that way. I actually think that he makes he could potentially make an interesting like tag team with like Mancha Roja with the Sharp Wit combined with and 1 from Runson. So like you get two conditions on
Actually,
him,
here's what he does. Here's what he does. I need to mention this. We talked about how to get distracted on people. He pulses out Unresistible Distracted. So that is actually really important, because you get that distracted on people, and then your swashbucklers go to town. And your opponent, if your opponent has a good hand, it doesn't matter.
I guess trade a 6 of tomes to give out distracted. I'm still not convinced that this is a worthwhile model for that one, line of play. But I really.
And again, it compounds, right? Like if you're handing out someone distracted, that's one thing. If you hand out distracted and then you also make them slow with Sharp Wit, what does their next activation look like?
I hear you, but the thing is that he's taking up the space that I would put in for the Hwacha guy, because I value the Hwacha guy significantly higher than this guy, and he's 1 point less.
I don't really always take Judd and Honey. I think that the fact that Judd and Honey doesn't do a lot outside of deal damage and he deals a pretty small amount of damage is, I've cooled on him since launch.
Yeah, I think at first he looked really,
he's
really
good in
like,
some matchups.
Oh, this guy's like
he's.
I think in GG3 he was better.
Nuts against.
He's incredibly good, just like as a backline healer, because he's like a silent one, but like with longer range. He's like, 16 inches away, get healed, get moved out of combat. I do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, but those
TNs
are pretty beefy. He needs an 8 to heal you.
True. Again, he's a 6-point model. I'm not gonna oh my god, he's like the greatest thing since sliced bread. But if I was gonna put in a healer, like we're talking about, or a model that does, stuff for the game, yeah,
just take Bo.
Bo is if I wanted a healer 100%. But watch a guy is just like he's a healer in keyword and he's cheaper and he can also do other stuff.
I also think we're all kind of ignoring like his range attack Harrowing Tail, but like
yeah.
Sometimes he's just taking min 3 like ranged attacks. Like he's only stat 5, but stat 5 versus willpower. Sometimes, especially if you look at all the stuff in this book that has crappy willpower, sometimes that's just good enough. And
misdirected rage is not a bad trigger even a little bit.
I mean, but I'm just focusing on the fact that often it's going to be late in the turn. It's just going to be a 3 damage shot. Just pew, 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 pew.
I mean, you could technically use him. That attack that we're talking about, Harrowing Tail, just to move your own models out of the way without doing damage to them. So maybe that's another thing that you could do. I don't know. I honestly don't think that this model is any good. But like, if we're looking for like these very specific examples that use up resources and do very little, hey, this is the thing.
I think Mossbeard is going to be one of those models that is going to need experimentation to really see like how much of an impact he can make on the table.
Yeah.
Because his card is so not all over the place necessarily,
it's
but
not as
of.
directed.
Correct. It's not as direct. Like, oh, this is what this model does. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's not the tankiest model ever, but I mean, like, he has access to survival skills on Sharp Wit. He's got hard to kill.
He can heal himself with the Cousin and Fussin because he doesn't have the other rider.
He can heal himself with that. Right. And, like, handing out slow, handing out distracted, like, those are just good ways to kind of keep yourself alive, like, in sort of the thick of it. Like, if a dedicated beater goes after him, they could remove him from the table.
And just to note, if you're handing out all this slow, you can hand it out more. And if you bring Bash, when Bash hands out slow, you can start pinging damage.
Yeah, it's definitely another kind of point to Sam's point earlier that if you were going to take Bash, Angler would be the keyword that you would consider taking it. And I think that Sharp Wit does kind of play into that a little bit, right? And again, like also with all the distracted Mancy and Zip 2 specifically, and with Swashbucklers, like he's starting to make sense as actually potentially. Well, I guess we did talk a little bit about how like it might not work at all, or we might need to just get like a full-fledged review about that.
Say that again. What
what
are people saying that doesn't work?
No, like we talked about it earlier. We were talking about how he's starting to make sense. Like if they have the distracted condition and they gain focused, do they still count as gaining focus for the effect of the ability?
They don't.
No, they don't.
There's very
right.
Yeah.
They don't.
If a tree falls in the woods, does it really make
so
a
that's
sound?
like the anti synergy. That's like like you kind of wish it was like working the way that it should. And I think I would like him more.
There's also a lot of stuff in this book that, like, when you start reading it, you notice there's a lot of new models that are Def 6, Willpower 4. Like, there's a lot of that. And so having these attacks versus willpower, there's, like, actually a lot of good targets for that. Like, just off top of head, there's Battering Rams, Swine Twirlers, the Delirious Thralls, Elemental Boxers. There's a lot of 6/4s in this book. It's just like a stat line that they really liked when they were going at it. So
that's a good stat line.
You know, there's a lot of willpower 4 stuff you can.
Yeah, 6/4. It's because the thing is, I think it's like something like 4 out of 5 attacks in the game target defense. Something stupid high.
The Ahul is 6/4. There's a lot of that.
So out of the 2 keywords, which one do you think likes the Swashbuckler or Mossbeard better? Because I'm not sure. I think the Swashbucklers, I probably like them better in Zip, but Mossbeard I think I like better in Angler. This is just kind of off the top of my head. I'm not no games to support it. Just looking at what I know about Bayou.
I think I like them both better in. Well, I think I like them both better in Angler. And one of the big reasons I like the Swashbucklers more in Angler is that their ability to just push towards a marker when it drops is like kind of low key extremely strong because it's like whoever takes the most walk actions loses. And Angler just drops so many tide markers, you can just sort of poop them up the board. Boop 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 boop.
Yeah, that's not once per turn. So I mean, it's just boop, move.
Yep.
Boop,
Sure
move.
isn't. Is it even once per activation?
No, it's just after a friendly terrain marker.
Is it friendly terrain?
So yeah, it's friendly terrain specifically. So they can't move towards like enemy drops effects, but it's friendly
tide
terrain.
markers.
Yeah, but you're
Tide
right.
markers
In
is all you
Angler, they
need.
got like extra mobility. And well, actually, in both they got extra mobility. Honestly, I really like Swashbucklers in both. Whenever you need like a cheap beater, so I don't know. I frankly, I'm very happy that these models exist because Mossbeard is such a letdown.
I also think it's kind of worth noting that like Swashbucklers kind of fill that like not super cheap minion, but like you didn't really want to fill that with like something like what are they called? Oh, the Rasslers.
Rasslers.
Like
Just Rasslers.
Yeah,
They're called
they're not
Rasslers.
even.
Four Rasslers.
Man, those guys need an
They
errata
do.
so bad.
They need something.
Because
so
those models
bad,
are
dude.
so
They're-
cool and they're so
Yes.
dog.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about.
Oh, they have five.
Oh,
stone
dude,
minions
no,
that are
they're
bad.
not even because like there's 5-point minions that actually do their work. These models I wouldn't even take. There were like 3.
Oh, 100%.
I would hire them
wouldn't
at
pay
four.
one
They were
stone
still-
for 'em.
Yeah, I'm hiring them for 3.
I would have to
stones.
think about
Yeah,
it at
man.
4 stones though, which is kind of a very
Yeah.
damning
Is
indictment
telling.
of the
Yeah,
their card.
exactly. Exactly.
Can we talk about probably one of my new favorite infamous models with Toast? This dude looks straight up legit. I mean,
I'm down to talk about Toast.
you're
yeah.
getting all of the Mad Max.
It's so
feels with
good.
this thing. I love
And
it.
the
I like
turtle is
Toast.
so good.
Yeah, Toast looks awesome.
Dude, I actually think Toast is better than Vernon and
I
Wells.
agree.
Ooh,
I
Yeah.
really do.
nice.
I think Vernon and Wells is one of the most overrated models in the game. So, but like, I think
I
Toast
would
is
agree
just
with
straight
that.
up better.
A lot of people talk really highly on them, and I've seen them do fine things, but like with how high people talk about Vernon Wells, I've never seen it live up to that.
Yeah, and Toast does a lot of the same stuff, and he's 2 stones
Oh
cheaper.
man, and he survives longer.
Yeah, you know what's the one thing about Toast I don't like is that he's not a construct.
That's fair.
I agree with that. Yeah.
That might genuinely be a balance
Apparently
thing.
he's undead. I guess they're
Yeah.
riding a dead turtle around. Is that
Yeah,
what they're
yep.
doing?
If Earl could heal him, that would like actually, I think, put him over the top for me.
Yeah, that'd be pretty legit though.
Yeah, like that I think is like I think them not being a construct is legitimately for balance reasons rather than lore
But
ones.
seriously, I mean, this thing has catch in the treads, which is an awesome,
Really
you know,
good
attack
attack.
action,
And it's a stat 6 catch in the treads when it charges.
and it has a 10-inch flamethrower, which I guess we're just doing that now. I mean, I don't think we've had
Oh,
a
we
10-inch
have a couple.
flamethrower.
No,
Yeah,
the
we have a
Flamethrowers are all
couple.
10
It's an
inches.
existing
they were all
attack.
like
It's just
8
not
or
very
There's
common.
4.
Yeah,
Yeah, like the Draken,
Yeah.
Draken
Draken
Troopers have it,
Troopers.
and-
I think the Hooch
The Hooch
Igniter has
Igniter
it.
has it. The
That's fair.
whatchamacallit, the guy from Guard.
I'm just used to all these 6-inch breath of fire attacks now,
Yeah.
so this just has me feeling good about it.
It is a breath of fresh air that it's. a
Oh, it's
flamethrower,
so
not
good.
Breath of fire. I agree, and I think that having a flamethrower with what if more powder is potentially pretty sick as well. And this might make it lose value. Like Toast loses a bit of value, but like if you throw inferiority complex, you get like a 3-for-1 out of a walk action. Like you can potentially interact, gain focus,
But John-
and move 3 inches.
John,
it's not. Like,
it's movement 3. It's not that good. Even no,
I mean,
no,
the big-
I'm
no, for
joking.
sure.
The
I
big thing
agree
with
with
Toast
you.
that makes me think it's hireable. Yeah, the thing that makes me think Toast is hireable is that he's size 2. If he was size 3, I don't think you'd ever see this guy. The fact that you can give him a ride with the Skeeters just instantly nullifies his one like significant downside. Because I mean, he has that bonus action that's a 6-inch push that just ignores models and severe, and that's all you need. How often are you taking
Not
more
only
than
that,
one
but
walk action in a turn?
Zip 2 is also pushing models around quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
So I don't really care about the movement 3 because Zip does not have
I mean,
any
look
problem with
at
mobility.
the perfect example to look at move 3 on a model that's really good is Cervantes. I mean, sure, it's move 3,
And he
but
has heroic
on
intervention.
the move, heroic intervention. Like he's got so many things that help him get up the board.
And he is on
he's
a
in
50,
the same keyword as
so
Bog.
you could, drop a scheme behind you, walk, drop another scheme,
I think the only time I would
actually-
ever walk with this guy is if I either like desperately need those last couple inches to like make an important play, or if I'm just like adjusting my positioning for an interact.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're setting up maybe like an ensnare and you're like, okay, now I got to walk and drop another one or something.
And all-terrain turtle kind of covers that anyway, like in a manner of speaking. Like it's a really good reposition.
Yeah. And remember, you can do stuff like interact, walk, interact to make 2 scheme markers 4 inches apart. Because it's base width, right? So one goes at one end of the base, the other goes on the other end. So, yeah, you could do just like I love this guy. I like Toast.
You could do the same smuggler bullshit that Earl Burns does.
Yes.
You know, like
I think
it's the yeah.
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was kind of just being like, oh yeah, he could do the
I mean,
same thing. But then
okay.
I wasn't sure
So
about
another thing that I love about this model, and I kind of hate at the same time, is as a Bayou player, we're gonna see this in Outcast, because for someone, for some ungodly reason, this model actually does very well with a Hodgepodge emissary around, and is like because the flamethrower is actually very good at range, and he can just keep using all-terrain turtle without any fear.
Yeah, I think this model like genuinely is going to show up in lists on purpose.
Yeah.
Same with Drumstick. I don't know if we're dealing with the jockeys all at once, but Drumstick's
Sure, why not? Let's do it.
Yeah, because
I mean, we could. Yeah, Drumstick is great. Like, he's a stat 6 built-in heave.
Yeah, that's. So something I wanted to mention a little bit earlier is that I think all of the jockeys and this might be a bit of a hot take, not like crazy, but I think they're all best in Trixie. I think Drumstick is really good, like is fine in Trixie.
Just heaving models
like,
into pit traps.
You literally can heave models into pick traps with move 6 flying.
So what gives me pause with
rich,
Drumstick is that he's really fragile. But in Big Hat, he makes his own take the hit for Old Cranky's aura, which means he's actually not fragile. He's actually insanely hard to remove in Big Hat. So in Big Hat, he's nuts. Outside of
Wait,
Big
why
Hat,
is he hard to remove in Big Head? I'm confused.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's fair. But I like the Falling Skies action, like to potentially push people into pit traps, the built-in heave on his melee.
Or how about the fact that his Falling Skies action can remove a ski marker from like the next town over?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Wait, I got a little bit lost. Why is he especially good in Big Head? Like, what? Why?
Because he can do Fan on the track and summon a Bayou Gremlin, which immediately takes the hit for him with Old Cranky's aura. So instead of being just a 5/4 that gets shot off the board, he's like,
yeah,
you are so right. I forgot about that.
Aren't as into, if you aren't as into Bayou, like just what's going on right now. Old Cranky has an insane take the hit. Where what's the range of it, Sam?
It's 8 inches around him, but it's not an aura, so it's just 8 inches. As the crow
so
flies.
if you have a gremlin or a
haberdasher or a skeeter,
or a haberdasher, you can be like, nope, you're gonna hit that model instead, and then you kill that model, which lets you draw a card that you just.
I do want to point out 2 more things, because like it is even more disgusting than that. It is 8 inches, right? But it doesn't need line of sight to Cranky. It needs 4-inch aura line of sight to the other model that you're gonna take the hit from, and then that take the hit model does not need to be placed in base to base contact. Like it's like absurdly good take the hit.
Yeah, no, Old Cranky is cracked for sure. And yeah, like Sam saying, being able to boop, there's my Bayou Gremlin to take the hit for me. Like you can kill it if you want to, but you know, and then Falling Skies to remove scheme markers from so far away. Incredibly far away. Built-in heave. Yeah, no, this model is really good. It is fragile, for sure. There's no doubt about it.
It's
but
not super accurate. It is not
really good. Needs to be
it's not super
with,
accurate. It is a little fragile, but not like super fragile. And the point cost is perfect. I think they did a fantastic job making this model.
Yeah. It does make me sad that the other jockeys aren't getting like an update to kind of like catch up to these ones. In my opinion, because a lot of the
also Barrelby and Squish and Squash are both very bad.
Barrelby is actually one of the other ones that I'm like better in Mawtucket.
No, bad model. Don't hire.
Well, no. Let's listen to John.
But he looks so cool. He's
John
riding a game.
Is not wrong. Like it's a bad model, but he is gonna be better.
It gets you a scrap marker for Sparks, and Barrel Blast moves on hit.
Sparks doesn't need help.
You know?
have so many models in your list that make pit traps, and he treats those as scrap. Don't hire Barrel B, guys.
No,
Don't
no,
listen
no!
to
Come
this
on, man! It's fun. Just let them have fun.
I will say I have a bit of a bias for Barrel B because when I first saw his picture, I was actually most excited about Barrel B because I am a brewmaster.
I will say, in defense of Barrel B a little bit, accidental rollover is a pretty good trigger.
Yeah, but it's a 0-inch engage.
But
yeah.
Look,
I mean, I'm just trying. I'm trying to give something.
Here's what I'll say: there are two circumstances where you hire Barrel B, right? One is you really want to make Cooper Jones work, and you have accepted that this is not super competitive, but it's fun, so you're going to make Cooper Jones work. The other is that you are hiring Bo Peep as your leader, and you want to play the jockey list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will now to get back to more of a serious point. I've tried to consider where Barrel B would fit into Tri-Chi at all, and it's very, very difficult because for that same cost, you could get just another fermented River Monk, who are significantly more tanky,
or just a whiskey gammon for cheaper.
You could get a whiskey gammon who's fat. I think Barrel B would be worth it if this guy, instead of having hide in the barrel, had driving while I drink. Dude, if he had driving while I drink, 100%.
I do think if he had driving while I drink, he would actually be too good. That rule is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it doesn't
that's
cap,
fair.
so you could just be like, I'm just pushing him 30 inches across the board.
Deal with it.
I mean, at that point, At that point, is
But-
there like a set of stats that would actually make him fair?
I mean, if you give him, he could easily be worse and have driving while I drink. The reason driving while I drink would be nuts on him is that he can push all the way across the board, and then he can do a sleep at the wheel and push another 6 inches in any direction, ignoring models and terrain. And then he's
only moved 5
or 5 inches, ignoring models and terrain, and then he's just like scoring power ritual for you. He's scoring breakthrough when that's back in the pool. He's just an unstoppable schemer at that point. The whiskey gamemen themselves are kind of their ability to abuse driving while I drink is constrained by the fact that they don't have that follow-up ability.
Well, here's kind of my problem with them is when you look at Tri-Chi, there's usually two kind of places that a model falls into. You're usually either generating a lot of poison or you're using a lot of the poison. And I'm looking at his card and I don't really see any way that he's either abusing poison or generating it for the crew. So I think that's kind of a problem he falls into.
Agreed. He doesn't do anything for his crew.
Yeah. The only thing that he does is accidental rollover, and it's just not consistent enough.
Yeah.
Even though you can cook it in, it's still not consistent enough. It reached 0 on a move 5 model. Yes, he can move 15 inches, but
a whiskey gammon just moves further, even if you get that accidental rollover trigger.
And in this same book, we got a model that has significantly more poison synergy, to the point where I would almost consider him an auto-include in Brewmaster 1. But, I don't know who's still playing Brewmaster 1 at this point, but we'll talk about Houdini later. I think Houdini is really cool.
Is there... Yep, there's one more, I think, right? Squish and Squash?
Don't even think about it.
It's so bad.
No?
Don't even think about hiring this model. It is so... This model doesn't do anything. This model is a totally blank card.
Whoa.
I literally haven't looked at Squish and
You
Squash,
say that as
so I have no
as-
idea.
Okay.
No.
I want to hear Dixon's point.
I agree with him, except I think Mossbeard is worse. So the fact that he defended Mossbeard, but he's about to attack Squish and Squash, who is both cheaper and easier to keep alive, how dare you, sir? How dare you?
Mossbeard has hard to kill and self-healing and built-in positive twists on his defense as long as you fulfill an extremely easy to fulfill.
Dude, this model gets...
Yes.
Yeah,
Not
but
in
this
Zip,
model
but
gets
in
flinch.
Angler.
Hey, listen, Squish and Squash has a bad leap.
It has
I mean,
flinch
that's
and a
something,
bad
right?
leap. It's not exactly easy to remove as well.
No, it's very easy to
Oh,
remove.
please.
Watch me do it.
Yeah, flinch is a pretty decent mechanic, as far as defenses go, but that's literally all
I
she's
agree.
got besides.
I
push.
She also
That's all
it
she
feels
has,
very
you're
much
right.
like they put her in kin because it was the 8th keyword. They didn't have someone in. She has no real synergy with kin at all.
Yeah, that's actually what I was just about to say.
She doesn't even have a gun. A lot of the jockeys do have a gun. She doesn't have a gun. She has no ranged attack.
And it would make more sense for her to be kin if she had a gun. You know what I mean? If she's running around on Squish and Squash the frogs with a gun in her hand, then I could see a
Yeah.
point. And I wanted to lickety split with ramming speed for she can charge 6.
Well, you can give her a
get
gun,
heal
though,
off
right?
on somebody. But it's still just because Kin doesn't really have healing unless you hire both people.
wait,
But you
can't
want
you
to
give her
damage
a gun?
stuff, so...
You could if you're playing Ophelia too. because she's
Yeah.
Kin.
Oh, you could.
But why
With
would you?
Ophelia
There it is.
too.
We did it.
But like, why would you give her a gun and not like a model that's good? It doesn't make sense to me. She doesn't even have the bigger they are. Why does she not have the bigger
That's a
they
good
are?
point. Holy crap, I forgot about that.
Like you said,
Because if she had the
this is-
bigger they are and ramming speed, she'd get to.
Yeah, but she's size 2.
stat
She
7
wouldn't
on
get to
her,
stat
2,
7
3,
very
4?
often because she's size 2.
That's a good point. That's a good
I
point.
would say that this does feel like an oversight where it's like, oh well, we had this cool idea. Well, the only one that we need a jockey for is Kin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think honestly, if she was size 1, she could stay on her 40 mil. If she was size, because like at the end of the day, like yeah, she's standing on 2 big frogs. They're not like that big. Like, but you make her size 1, you give her the bigger they are, and you give her a gun, and then like she's actually a salvageable model at that point. I've really been trying to like pick my brain about like Squish and Squash. There's like, oh, she can on a 7 menacing croak twice, and maybe that's like good in Zip 2 or something, but like it's not. You just hire another swashbuckler. Why would you hire Squish and Squash at that point? You have good healing and keyword with Fishbacher. Like you don't. And then she loses her bonus action, so she's just a 2 AP 6 stone model.
Honestly, she has like a really good mobility for her cost. I guess that would be like the closest thing to say something nice about her, because she's speed 6 and she gets that bad that bad leap.
But the thing is, like Kin, the kind of mobility that she offers, which is mobility to a place where you already have a model, is actually something Kin can do pretty well with I Need an Adult.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's just she doesn't.
Like the totems already.
She doesn't
handle
offer
that,
anything the keyword doesn't already have, and she's missing a lot of stuff that the keyword kind of.
Bro, you don't have to
needs,
convince me
and,
that
like,
she's
it
garbage.
almost-
I'm just saying, like she.
We can move on.
Fair. I definitely can see that she's not better than Mossbeard. I will put it that way. Like I think Mossbeard definitely has even with my like preliminary, like I'm not even sure what you're supposed to do with this model. I spent more time thinking about how to make Squish and Squash work, but now that I've looked at both a bit more, like
I still think that
Squish and Squash is bad.
I still think that
She's worse than Barrel
she's better than Moshbeard, but not by like oh my god by a lot. It's like I think so because of the speed, like just strictly how fast she is.
I will beat your ass with Mossbeard.
I will definitely not lose to Mossbeard.
He's a ding ding.
I think the
Let's
challenge
do it,
has been accepted.
It's
We'll
been
set a time.
accepted, dude. Just a last little note. I wish Leapfrog was, instead of being like a bad leap, was actually just like a TN-less leap that dealt a damage to the model. I think that
agree.
would make her
I agree
almost
with that.
redeemable too. Because then at that point she's at least fast in places you need her to be, and like she can be more versatile in that role. But like yeah, being Kin without a gun is just like the only one who gets away with that is Maris, and Maris has so many other good things about her card that like
yeah.
She throws shockwaves at least.
Maris is great. Like I think Maris is
That's true.
genuinely great. Up We Go is a cracked attack.
Yes, it is.
cracked. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's enough about the jockeys. No. Okay, so hog oil sales.
Hog Oil Salesman just is so baffling to me. Like, why is this model?
Why does this model exist?
Why is it? Why is its attack so bad? Like, why does it have a 0-inch range? Why so much stuff about this model?
Another
It is
50 mil
so-
base as well.
Yeah, it's another fat 50 mil base. So, okay, fundamentally, this is sort of commentary that goes to both of them. Ulix lists are always somewhat split between models that like support your crew, like what I call support staff, which is typically like Hog Whisperers, Slop Haulers, Bayou Smugglers, and models that like beat ass. So that would be like War Pigs, Old Major, Gracie, stuff like that. And the trick to building a Ulix list is having the right balance of support staff and beaters, and having that balance be appropriate based on sort of what you're hiring and what your opponent's crew looks like, and bearing in mind the other big weakness of the crew is that it doesn't draw cards and has a lot of TNs. So this is a guy who does not draw you cards. He adds TNs to your list. He is very much in the support staff category despite being a 50 mil. But when you're looking at what he's actually doing, it's like he's not even support staff, he's support staff, because he only supports your models if you're already doing other things like healing your models. So you need to have a pig, and then you need to have a healer that heals the pig, and then this guy's job is to make that heal slightly more effective for 7 stones.
So this model like desperately needed tools for the job, and they just decided, no, we're not going to give him tools for the job.
I mean, they need to decide if this guy was supposed to be like a pure support staff, in which case he needs to do more supporting. Or if they wanted to make him a 50 mil and put him on a pig, they should have given him a real melee attack. Like, I'm not talking like a stat 6, 3, 4, 5, but like give him a stat
almost
6.
Like the Sow. Yeah. The Sow has a good melee attack, right? That's not like the high end of pig damage, but it's still decent enough because she's a pig.
Well, and she cooks in crit strike with old Major Aura, you know. So she goes to the 3, 5, 6 range, and she can get those positive flips from her own abilities. And he is stat 6 in melee with ramming speed, but like it is on a 1, 3, 4. Like what? And like he can cook in collision, but he could do it. Like the thing is like he's got a ram trigger that he like kind of wants to cook in, and ramming speed really is just there so he can cook in stick him.
Yeah, I was
and
just
even
about
then,
to say that.
Like yes, you can cook in stick him without needing the tools for the job, but like tools for the job is such a good ability, especially in pigs. Like even if you're just playing like Ulix 1 and Ulix 2 like tools for the job. Ulix 1 specifically likes it a lot because like it allows him to either get a card that he needs to summon, or just to give like somebody like the war pig that's about to go on a rampage.
Yeah,
like
13.
You can do
13,
the good old tried strategy of like defending
he's not
with
doing anything for
you can
pigs
you can defend with a
specifically.
13, grab that 13 right back, and then use it to attack.
Yeah, this guy I really do not see it. Like, all the stuff he does is so weak. And, like, the cherry on top is that he has a bonus action that is an enemy-only 6-inch range attack. Like, please don't do this to models. Weird.
Yeah,
it's not nice.
No, I think there's a lot of potential for the hog oil salesman, like, in terms of, like, what he could have been as design-wise. Because, like, in Ophelia, I kind of like the idea of being able to, like, be a healer or to hand somebody like Raphael fast. Like, that could have been interesting.
I Need a Volunteer is a good action. The problem is that pigs don't really need it. It's also very awkward to do with a 50.
Okay. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that none of you have mentioned you can grow pigs into this.
Yeah, but why would you?
I'm not saying that's like the best thing ever.
You know what else you can grow pigs into
them.
with the exact same card is you can grow them into a Swinehurst, which is one of the deadliest beaters in the game.
You can't grow pigs into a hog oil salesman. You can grow the hog oil salesman into other pigs.
Wait, hold up a minute. Why can't you?
You can only grow pigs
because
up into minions.
Yeah, he's right.
Correct. That's right. I apologize.
Yeah. So you can turn him into a war pig or a Swinehurst, and like I don't know why you would necessarily do that because again,
you
he
can't
doesn't
turn
do
him into a
enough
Swinehurst in
supporting.
Ulix 1 because it has to be higher cost.
Oh, because you're right. In
you
Ulix
could do it in
1,
Ulix 2.
And yeah, in Ulix 2, you can actually like just be like, oh look, it's this hog oil salesman. I hired this crappy mod. Just kidding. He's 7 inches up the board, and he's a Swinehurst now. Suck it.
Surprise, mother truckers.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you could just take the 3-stone piglet you hired, push it through 2 of your own models you set on fire, and get a free 9-stone war pig.
So, like, and as we're talking about this, like, yes, spiced coffee could have potentially have been, like, the thing that's like, okay, cool, I'm giving a pig fast, and I'm giving it burning. I now have a way to fuel the Ulix 2 bonus action. But you need a 6 tome to get it, and like you were saying, like, it's adding more TNs to Ulix. Like, in Ulix 2, he's not as TN focused,
also,
but, like, he still wants to get his
how about this?
off.
All your pigs have Reckless. So you're not really making a pig fast. You are effectively healing 1 point of damage on a pig because they're Reckless and they don't have a different bonus action that's good to do. So you're getting the same number of AP as if you hadn't done it at all. You're just taking 1 less damage.
Don't forget the Aramanthian Boar.
I already forgot the
I'm so sad that I still have uses for that model. Like, the Hercules is actually good if there's a lot of severe terrain, and that's it. Yeah,
That's it. That's the only.
It's so sad.
Only
It is
time
really good,
sad.
Is if there's
It
a
is
lot.
really, really strong.
It is really good when that
Correct.
situation does come up.
Okay, can we
for
not
sure.
talk about the
That thing
salesman
is
anymore? This
fast.
model makes me depressed. Let's talk about the Swine Twirler.
Well,
I agree.
So
with
here's
you.
the funny
Okay.
thing. While you guys have been talking about what to do with that, I've been looking at the Swine Twirler, and I'm like, what does this even do? It like has a bunch of like cute pushes.
This
and
is
it, like,
why I
can
wanted to
put
talk about
burning
this
out,
before
and that's kind of it.
Houdini. I wanted to in a positive note.
That's fair. To get a little letdown and then a little perk, that seems like a good idea.
Swine Twirler for me, at the very least, has kind of the same thing that a Mossbeard had for me, where I'm not really sure exactly what you're supposed to be doing with him. Gamble looks really interesting because of the synergy with something like a Bayou Smuggler, which is good and honestly better in Ulix probably because of that. But I mean, I could still see that like in an Ophelia 1 where you want to give her some form of card engine to be working with.
Also, it kind of fuels your your whatchamacallit, 12 cups, right? It gives you just something that you can just use the bonus on and get a focus.
What? Oh yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. But in Ulix again, like it's kind of missed out because like if you hire like a couple piglets, they can just like walk drops scheme markers for you.
Well, hold on. If it's an enemy,
if
it's an enemy scheme marker, the smuggler draws an extra card off it. That matters.
Yeah, that's why it's
so
important.
I really did not like the swine twirlers when I first saw them, and they've grown on me a lot. And a big part of it is also just right this way is a big deal. Like that, like unpacks in Ulix can actually suck like really bad sometimes because it's a bunch of 50 mils, and he just makes that not a problem. Diversion is a really strong rule. Diversion is a rule that you often will just spend 2 stones to staple to one of your models.
Right. You can have so much diversion with swine twirlers and 12 cups of coffee. Like it's a ton. It's just huge sphere of influence. And defense 6 is also nice to have.
I think if your opponent's attacking willpower a lot, you do need to really consider that because this guy will just die. But like def 6 is enough that like that's reasonable if your opponent's mostly got def attacks. But gamble is good because if you take a smuggler because it just feels like Ulix really needs the draw. Diversion is just an extremely strong rule all the time. Right this way matters because in the unpack. And then take by the hand is just like he's a 3 AP model because take by a hand is a real action. And the six masks is not that high a mask, and importantly, 6 masks isn't high enough to get Herdem off on most of your models. So it's a card that he's not fighting for the 6 masks with other models. And when you can take by the hand to just like give Ulix 2 an extra shot and move him up the board, like that's really good. And then once he's done his job helping you unpack, he's just basically sitting in your backfield, like shooting enemies with whacked piglets that set them on fire, and then helping your dudes make more actions. I think he's good. I don't think always. I think it's definitely a consideration. But if I'm already wanting to hire a Bayou smuggler, I think I take the Swine too.
Have you guys ever gotten annoying to do anything on the table ever?
Nope.
What ability is that?
Why does Weird keep putting that on new models?
You want to know the really weird thing about it is his annoying has a TN. Nobody else's does.
That's a huge mistake. They did that by mistake.
You sometimes get the crow trigger and then try to take the action, but you don't ever. I don't think there's any situation where you're just like, oh yeah, I really need to get this annoying off.
Nobody wants to do a tactical action that eats up one of your actions that needs a 5 that does nothing.
Right. Because what are the dogs that have annoying? Is it the
Guildhounds? And the canine remains.
Yeah, yeah, so like those are summonable. They're also 3
you can
stars.
obey them.
Like that's fine if they have annoying on their card. I don't want to spend an action on a 6-stone model to take the annoying. Like sure, if you get it into melee, you might get it off, but like even
you'll never do it. You'll sometimes get a trigger.
Yeah,
I agree.
You'll
with
sometimes
Sam
get it on a
there's
trigger.
uses to this model. The big issue that I find is what are you taking out to put him in? Like I don't know.
Slop hauler.
See, that's the problem. I don't think so. I prefer the slop hauler still.
Probably a slop hauler. Slop haulers are good, but they're not mandatory. Especially if your opponent is the kind of list that can just alpha a pig down. The slop hauler is like kind of.
I actually don't even usually find myself hiring slop haulers that often, to be honest.
I hire them less.
But I also haven't played. Yeah, I haven't played Ulix much recently either. So like, it's kind of hard to say. My Ulix list was like super tight. Andre helped me build it, and I was using the Lucky Effigy as like my kind of go-to. Oh well, if I have to just cheat off the top for my Herdems, it feels less bad than trying to like hit the TN, you know. And in worst case scenario, I'm getting some mins out of my deck. But I think that like the synergy with the smuggler, if that's like your route that you're taking for Ulix's draw engine, I think that's really good, and also helping you with the unpack because of right this way is so handy for all those.
There are some maps where you're going to look at the map and you're going to look at your deployment zone and you're just going to realize you're priced into hiring one of these guys. Like you have to hire him.
Yeah, I've played Westbrook with pigs on, it was technically Wong, but I had Swine Cursed and or maybe it was pigs, but I played him on one of the casino maps and like. Yeah, like literally that 0-inch engage, like I had just moved myself out of the 6-inch range for Ulix to increase their melee, and I was heroic interventioning into like he was playing Thunders, the Katanaka crime bosses that have extended reach. So I was like, oh, I have my way around this. I could not fit him between the slot machines, and that just hurt really bad. And also having to unpack around the slot machines was just a pain in the ass. Yeah. So I think they help out a lot.
There's another thing. The main reason why I don't think that they take the spot of the slop haulers because of hitch a ride, because that's what I mainly use the slop haulers for.
Well, he's got solicitation.
Like a pseudo.
He has pseudo hitch.
I mean, come on, it's not as good. It's nowhere near as good. The displacement is only like what, 3-4 inches.
It's push 5. It's push 5 towards the model that after the action resolves. So it's not like as good as Hitch a Ride, but it still like keeps his sphere of influence in a relatively good spot because you're pushing towards the model after it moves forward. Like it's not. I agree with you, but also I think Swine Twirlers can very easily fit where Slop Haulers would have fit in a list.
All right, we've eaten our vegetables. I think it's time we could talk about fun models. Hoochdini.
Hopscotch and Hoochdini.
Hopscotch and Hoochdini. So yeah.
LFG.
They're so fun.
Yeah. They are fun, and I think Hoochdini might be like, yes, I have to recognize that Jebediah is the best Bayou model released in this book, but I think I do. I unfortunately have to, but Hoochdini I think is my favorite model released in the book. Like I love his sculpt, and I think his abilities are really, really interesting and might have some like small plays, like I said, Ale Drench Blast. Brewmaster 1 finally has a way to actually get poison on people that don't revolve around him spending stones on a trigger that should be built in, but even that Prestidigitation is an interesting action. Like it's short range, but he can change that and right.
I think in practice, almost always when I do the extra 4-inch range, it's going to be on I Need a Volunteer. That ability at 10 inches is cracked.
Dude, it is. And like so that to compare it to the model we just talked about, like I Need a Volunteer is a great action. It's even better when it has good triggers. You can cook those triggers in, and you can increase the range to 10. Like
John,
everything about this I Need a Volunteer.
This model needs 2 magical glowy tokens to do this awesome ability. Isn't that too much? I'm joking, obviously. I'm trying to like make it as cynicism.
Of course. So yeah, like it can, you can Prestidigitation. You have the trigger built in already. Like that's so good. Okay, so like he literally generates it as a bonus action. If you really needed to, you could blood poisoning him to get him a glowy, things of that nature. But no, like his front of card is just really good. Butterfly Jump, evasive, like he's it's interesting stuff, and like Magical Influence is such.
It's kind of funny because like these models are perfect for like the flow of combat that Whisping does, which is like I have these big meaty, hard to take down melee beat sticks that are gonna hold you off for like a second or two. And then these guys don't have friendly fire. They just do their thing.
I will say that one of the things I've often complained about with Magical Influence is that it's an ability that like only really matters on Samuel LaCroix because like just going down the list of models that have it, right? First of all, Swine Cursed don't have it. Second, the Alphonse has it, but he only generally has one trigger that's applicable in any given situation, so it's like really obvious what trigger you're building in. And
I actually find myself with Alphonse using it for Surge a lot.
Yeah, but the point is that's a trigger that you know what you're doing. Like you're not and then you've got like the lightning bugs that are like pretty bad, don't see a lot of play. So often it's like Samuel LaCroix is the only one that's like making interesting decisions with it, but this guy does too. Like it's very rare that you know exactly what you're going to want every single turn with him.
And keep in mind that the Swine Curse had to lose that ability, and for it they got +1 wound, got to actually be pigs, and what did they gain? They gained something else as well.
They gained
the
built-in trigger on their heroic intervention to get shielded. So the thing, so I've played with this guy probably more than any other Ashes model, and he is really good. What I will say is that because so much of his power is in doing these 10-inch I Need a Volunteers, you need to be thoughtful about your positioning in a way that you don't necessarily always have to be. Like you need to have a model that he is pushing towards. If he doesn't have a good like landing zone for it, and so you don't really have the ability to abuse his maneuverability, he's a lot worse. So you need to be like mindful about the way you're positioning your crew.
I I do have
He is
a
not
question
plug
for
and
you
play.
guys.
So to
The spiced coffee, who would be like the better target for it?
The best
Yeah.
target for a spiked coffee? I mean, I feel like the obvious choice for me is
Brewmaster 1.
Brewmaster 1 likes it, but also Fermented Rivers are just like really good
Give
for
it to
that.
Alphonse. Just Alphonse. Put it on
Oh
Alphonse.
yeah, Alphonse.
You're feeding
Put it on Alphonse.
focus to one of the scariest beaters in the entire faction.
Yeah. I've seen that model do way more damage than he should. Because if you can get focused on him and you can get...
He builds in
you can
Mutilate,
cook
so his
in
first
the
hit's
Sweeping
at
Strike.
3-4-6 and his second hit's at 4-5-7. He's just punching you like Cooper's gun.
So you wouldn't. Okay, so you say that Alphonse would be better than the pigs, even though that the pigs could also do irreducible damage. Like I'm just trying to like figure out which one.
Well, the thing is, sometimes you will put it on a pig.
Oh,
That's the
absolutely. I don't
flexibility of it.
disagree.
You could do it from
I'm just
10
trying to
inches
like figure
away.
out like good combos because like it's a once per turn, so I'm trying to figure out. It's like okay, so who would be the better choice? If you do it to Alphonse, is he gonna be in the front line? Which means that now Houdini is in the front line. Like I'm trying to.
Houdini's pretty durable, like surprisingly durable. He's got butterfly jump. He's got a lot of health.
True. That is true.
Yeah. Good health for cost and butterfly jump make him kind of a pain in the ass to remove. And I will also say this, the nice thing about it is that Alphonse in the way I generally play, he's a very centerpiece model. And then I use the Swine Curse kind of as like flankers, so to speak. They either go hunt down like an enemy scheme runner or they like come in on the side like where the scrum is already happening. And like again, I have more experience in GG3 than in GG4 with Whizbang specifically, but like being able to like say, okay, Houdini 1 AP, I'm 10 inches over near that Swine Cursed, I just gave him focused and now I can go do my things over here, and if I need to get back into it I can,
Well,
because
and
Alphonse
just
will be
being
there.
able to, teleport 10 inches over, drop a scheme to score something, next turn teleport 10 inches back to where things are relevant it's a very big ability.
And then like randomly prestidigitation doesn't even have to like you don't have to put it on any enemy models for it to be good, because magical feedback being automatic, you can just use the bonus action to throw the shockwave into an empty space and get the glowy.
But also it does make your models tankier if you can position it well, because like Swine Cursed are already a pain in the ass to kill with defense 6 in a melee. Combine that with any type of distracted, and it's usually more going to look like milling your opponent's hand with it, because like sometimes they really don't want to have to discard cards to pass a TN13 willpower duel. I also think it's kind of funny in Brewmaster 2 specifically, because you can essentially start feeding Brewmaster 2's distraction engine a bit, and I like part of me is like, ooh, does it mean Moon Shinobi can be good? It doesn't, but like there's two wolves inside me, okay, and one of those wolves wants Moon Shinobi to be good.
I will say though, I kind of am digging hopscotch a little bit with this sticky tongue action. And the triggers are pretty hilarious.
Man, I wish he was size 4 or Sticky Tongue was equal size models. Like, not being able to hit Swine Cursed with that is
I just
such
one
a
last
bummer.
thing with the Houdini thing.
Yeah.
Eldritch.
You can give him a ghillie suit, right?
That's so expensive then.
The Eldritch
I know.
Blast from Houdini. Did anybody talk about it? Because like
Oh, no, that ability is good. Like, it's better than it looks. It's step 5, so I'm not doing it all the time, but it can be like a 12-inch shot with a built-in trigger that teleports an enemy 4 inches.
I mean,
like, that's really
I'm
good.
just saying, like, if you hit somebody, this is the last thing I would want to mention, but like, if you hit somebody with a blaze, that's disgusting, because even on the weak, it has a blast. If you hit 2 enemy models, that's 4 damage on 2 models, or not 4 damage. Sorry, 3 damage on 2 models. That's pretty gross. 3 damage on 2 models, and then anything after that is like super freaking gross.
Yeah, I really liked him. I think he's a really cool model. He does a lot.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, we literally talked about how awesome everything else in the card is, and we didn't even mention that, the most basic thing about this model.
Fair. I think you just hate hopscotch.
Oh, no,
so
I
you
love
wanted to get away
hopscotch.
from
I
him.
just wanted to, like, make sure that we didn't, like, just bypass the most basic thing about this card that is still,
Make sure
like,
we hit
amazing.
up on it.
I want to like hopscotch. It just feels kind of awkward. Like, he seems kind of low impact. Like, he has a lot of like little movement tricks, but it's kind of like weirdly difficult to get
Bro, you
use out
can't
of him.
not love Hypnotoad. Come on now.
Hypnotoad's great. Look, he's a cool model. I think the ability to like displace models is kind of cool. I think I would take him on Raid the Vaults because he pulls people off of the objective. He pulls you onto the objective. Yeah, he's really surprisingly tanky because there's a huge list of things he's immune to. Like Slippery's really strong. Let's see. I'm trying to remember like literally all the things he resists because it's a huge list.
Yeah, it's pulses, shockwaves, blasts, melee
poison.
that's not within 0 of him. He's basically immune to severes because of hard to wound.
He's got poison.
Yeah, he's immune to poison. Yeah, exactly.
Just like a weirdly long list of
he
things.
heals
that can't
with
hit him.
poison, if I remember correctly.
He does.
He's got perverse metabolism.
And he gains glowy. No, he has better than perverse metabolism, right? He gains glowy.
But he's got both. So when he takes damage from a shockwave, blast, or pulse, instead gains poison and a glowy. But he's literally got perverse metabolism.
Yeah, this guy is pretty damn good. Even though like he's not like busted, but he's like cheap enough that I don't care.
Yeah, and I think in Brewmaster he may be more interesting because of Sticky Tongue being able to have more targets. Getting fingers up the board more effectively is good. He can get his poison up high enough to where perverse metabolism is actually, if you can't like one round him at the end of the turn, he might just be back to
irresistible
full health,
damage is always good, and this model has like an easy way to get 2 damage in an AoE on a target friendly model. Like that's really fun in my opinion.
Yeah, and Creep Along needing a 6 is kind of but like it does mean he has
both of his crews have card draw. So
true.
Yeah, and I'm not going to talk a lot about the Leech King and the giant leeches unless you guys have strong opinions about it, but Dixon and I both aren't really impressed too much. Plus, I think leeches are super gross, and I don't want to talk about it.
That's totally fair. I wanted to throw one more thing on Hopscotch, and that is magical influence plus undersea toxins, even on stat 5, makes it very threatening. Because undersea toxins is a very good trigger.
It is a very good
trigger. Every trigger that it has on the card is actually very, very, very powerful.
Mm-hmm. No, I think
glad we all agree.
And then if I wanted to talk about the Leech King at all, I think that I could maybe see an argument for him being in like Zoraida 2, because stat 7 blood magic, okay, is not something to be discounted here, and he can summon the leeches on an 8 if the target is on a half health or less, which like is still like a situational thing, but being able to summon the leeches that have penetrating stench and like all of the stun that Zoraida 2 can put out, I think makes that synergy actually really gross. Because when you have a stunned model and they are influenced by penetrating stench, they essentially have to discard because they cannot gain stunned. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So like you like automatically are just like attacking the hand there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I hear you.
And
it's just not great.
Yeah. Oh, and another reason why I think he's the prime candidate for the Witch's Brew is because there's also a trigger on there to heal, and you can essentially chain that heal to one of your other models off of him.
Yeah. I mean,
so I don't know how much play he actually has, and I haven't looked that much at him, but I do think that
I do agree with you that like he's significantly better in Zoraida 2, but like who are you taking out that's not better than him? You know? Because like First Mate is better, Bad Juju is better. Like there's and he would be fitting that slot.
I'm a degenerate, and I don't like the First Mate as much as most people because I think he's a stone sink. But I agree. It is weird trying to figure out where you would fit the Leech King into a Zoraida list. I mean,
he's got sort of Flay, and Flay is like an extremely strong trigger.
I don't disagree that he in Zoraida 2 specifically he would be a good model. The problem is Zoraida 2 also makes great models amazing. So like, who are you taking out?
Yeah, I mean. Well, what models are you taking in Zoraida 2 that you like want to make amazing?
No, I just said. I mean, I said 2, but I can give you 2 more. I can tell you even the Spawn Mother would be like incredible with her because it does more damage.
I think he's a better Spawn Mother. I think I prefer
better.
the Leech King.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Well, the Lich King doesn't use Soul Stones. I'm just saying. And then the other one is
true.
The man, the myth, the legend, the Kurgan. No, the Kurgan.
Oh.
Yeah, the Kurgan is just like an auto hire in Swamp Fiend from now until the end of time.
So we got 4 high cost models,
honest, though.
and this thing is not better.
Zoraida isn't even Bayou, so Bayou
Lying
players
sack of
don't
crap
even
because
worry
you
about
played
playing
her.
I actually agree with him.
He played Zoraida.
Yeah,
and
that's
he
no. That, you
enjoyed
know what?
her. I don't want to hear
Yeah.
it.
We'll trade Zoraida to be monocolor purple for Ezekiel to be in any
There you
keyword
go.
in Bayou.
Can we do a trade for the Leech King for Ezekiel?
Oh, dude, I
Can we
would
do
do
that
that.
trade?
The Brown team would like to propose the trade.
We get Ezekiel as a master with a
You
mindless
get the
zombie
Leech
substance.
King and leeches.
You mentioned that, but like the Gautreaux family like has been like in the background of the lore of the Bayou for like a while. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? With especially and the Bocors have existed, right? But they seem to me like one of the most interesting keywords that I would like to see exist in Bayou specifically. I think
Yeah,
it
if
would
we
be
could get some
really
kind of like
cool.
voodoo, the Bocours, just kind of
like
get all that together.
you have like spirits that you can like have on the battlefield, kind of like in a Karai
You have this kind of weird like
fashion.
gremlin Karai kind of vibe going on.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Gluttony comes to hit the drums and they do a little dance.
Yes. Yeah. So, but that's Ezekiel not being dual keyword or like another keyword in Bayou. When Bayou has the model that has a non-Bayou keyword attached to their versatile as well, and they're the only one who does, right? Bash is the only 10 stone of all the 10 stone enforcers that is also able to be played in a different faction.
You are correct. No, wait, that's not true. The Altus and Irina Keen.
Mountsaurus Rex. Mountsaurus Rex.
Syndicate. No, I think he means of the Ashes models.
Of the Ashes model specifically, but you're right. Altus and Irina Keen are Syndicate, which
Is cool.
I'm glad Syndicate's getting new models and like good, seemingly pretty good models on top of that. But.
So I take it, John, you're very excited, specifically since Whizbang got some cool stuff. Feeling pretty good though about the models.
Yeah, I think overall they're like okay. Like it has been said, the Kin Pig models are mid, but I do kind of like the Swine Twirlers. Like I wish I feel like the Hog Oil Salesman had potential, but overall I do like the Bayou models. I think they are middle of the pack in terms of power compared to some of the other factions. Because 10 Thunders did not do well, I don't think.
And Sam, you're pretty much in tune with a lot of the competitive events and tournaments and play. So, I mean, you think a handful of these models are going to kind of see some of the top end, or
I think
only a
Jeb
couple
will,
of them?
obviously. Haberdashers will. I think to the extent people are making long work, which is a quest that I continue to have mixed success on, I think Hoochdeen is going to show up a lot in there. I think that I want to experiment more. I like Mossbeard, but you guys don't. Whatever. I think he'll
I'd try him.
in Zip. I think he'll show up in Zip. I think Swashbuckles will show up sometimes in Zip. It's very matchup dependent. But yeah, it's not going to be like, I don't think there's anything that's like redefining how any of the crews play except for Jeb.
Yeah, and then, I mean, I don't mind that though, because I think it just gives opportunity to kind of tweak lists and try to, I'm trying to save points here to do X. And, I recently had that experience with Marcus. I was sitting there like, man, I can't keep bringing Kojo. This 10 points is killing my list building. And then I started experimenting with the Mole Men when they changed. And I'm like, all right, well, I mean, this is not the best, but it's actually a good way to, move models around when, I don't want to waste actions on it. So I think the new models for Bayou kind of does that same thing where it's like, well, if I'm looking for a discount or if I'm looking for a model that does this plus something different, I think there's a lot of good options in this new book.
Yeah, I agree entirely with that.
So I think we'll kind of end it up there. But John, I don't think you have a lot of plugs there, do you, John? I don't know if you got a
not at this
podcast
point,
you're thinking about starting or something.
I had a while back, but then it's kind of like life happens. You know?
Get Clay and the boys fired up again to get some of those student episodes out.
Yeah. But I haven't been to Houston in since probably I think December or something like that, and it's a shame. I just haven't had as much time, and because as a server, Saturdays are my need to work days.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'll put in 12 hours a day on Saturday to do what I do, and it provides for my family. And it's like I've felt the impact of not going to tournaments in how much money we're able to like kind of set aside and like have for bills and things like that. But I miss them so much. You know what I'm saying? I really do.
John gives the best hugs. Almost as good as a Dixon hug.
Thank you.
Sam, I know you got stuff to plug. Go and plug away.
I mean, I'd just say, check out Danger Planet. We have a whole bunch of different, content on Malifaux. We have some Ashes model reviews. We have some tournament reports and things. But the big thing that I want to plug is that coming up in July, we have the big Danger Planet 1K GT in Boston, Massachusetts. It's going to be great. We have a hotel. There's going to be karaoke. There's going to be drinking. It's all for a really good charity. It's for a dog rescue. And there's going to be wonderful dogs there to pet. So I would absolutely say if you guys are free, the weekend of July 19th, everyone come on down to Boston. We'd love to have you here.
What's the what's the venue going to be before we get John's 10 cents on it?
That's actually something I have to pull up. So you can. Okay. I want to get John's thing, and then I'll come back to you with the exact venue location.
I am working my hardest as well because I do want to attend the tournament out there in Boston. Because I think that you guys are doing something that's really, really interesting for the community and for tabletop games, and it's a cash prize pool, right?
Yes.
So I think that's something that we should definitely promote because I think more people could be drawn into the hobby. And just games in general, if they getting a prize pool is really cool, and I'm not knocking that at all. But man, it is pretty cool that you could show up.
If I can offset a little bit of my costs,
Yeah, exactly. Offset some costs, or even take home some money, depending on where you are regionally. I think that's a really good thing, and I think you guys are doing an amazing job. So
thank you.
I don't like the idea of giving Landon money though.
Oh, Landon doesn't get the money.
Hey,
also,
Andre-
it's first place 1,000, second place 500, third place 300. Top 3 best sportsmen get 300 per person. The best painted gets 500. There's going to be a karaoke contest as well, and there's actually a link which is in the Danger Plant Discord for the room block basically, but it is at the Hilton, the Embassy Suites, Hilton Boston. It's basically the airport hotel.
Cool.
So we have the ballroom. It's going to be it's the exact kind of convention hotel that if you've been to any kind of gaming convention, you'll be very familiar with.
Well, I think we're going to leave it there, gentlemen. I want to thank you for coming on again. And until next time, make sure that you guys are flipping cards and flipping tables, and we will see y'all later.